Hey everyone, welcome to the Saturday Night Live. Once again, you guys just have to let me know that you guys can hear me. Everything looks good on my end, but always like, a second set of eyes. So, tonight we're doing an energy drink and no alcohol tonight. We are doing Cherry Bomb. So, I'm sure if you were in class today, you saw me drink an exorbitant amount of caffeine. That is par for the course. I always drink caffeine. Always have caffeinated beverages. Well, I hope you are all having a wonderful evening. I know today, woke up this morning, had a shit ton of snow out there, and shoveled out with Mrs. Guru's help, and hopped in our truck. And I drove to class, got there extra early just to be on the safe side, because I don't know if you guys were out, but at 6:45 this morning, the roads, whether they be tertiary, secondary, or primary roads, even the highway, were all untouched. They were absolute crap. So I was literally on 691 doing 40 miles an hour in four-wheel drive, and it was still sketchy as hell. So that was my morning. All right, let's get into the news. I hope you guys are all having a wonderful night. On my third monitor over here, I can see that everything looks like it's up and running swimmingly. All right, let's jump over to this. Before we get rolling and all the good stuff, I just want to show you guys, hey, the merch store. So down in the description below, you will find a link to several of the merch stores. This one being Bonfire, which is the one that seems to be working out best for people ordering stuff. So you've got your unconstitutional state. This is to celebrate the new proposal the governor has put forth. Of course, you have the Navy Way, Guns and Coffee, which we've got to figure something out, and America's 250th birthday shirt to celebrate. On the back, it's got the retro Gun Guru logo, and on the front, the emblem says, "Freedom through violence since 1776. So pick up some merch there. Also, we are in February, which means next month is St. Patty's Day. So if you use the other link, which will take you to Teespring, don't beat me up, guys. I know Teespring is what it is. It looks just like this. You get your Houthi hunting season, your tinnitus, that you're comfortable with violence, guns and ammo, which is a pretty popular one. Stupid people are like glow sticks. You just want to break them and shake the shit out of them until the light comes on. Actually, that is what I'm wearing today. You've got the identify as the whole problem, because I do. Hemeyer welding, pew pew hooray. But I want to jump over to this one. It's on the second page. And if it loads, it is right here. It is the St. Patty's Day one. So on the back, you've got your little Notre Dame dude with NVGs and all that good stuff. And it has Ireland's motto. So feel free to jump in and grab some merch. It's a great way to support the channel. Before I jump into that, I wanted to show you guys something. So let me jump over to this. Bring you back here. And find this. Just looking for something. I want to bring it up for you. And there we go. Nope, that is not it. Oh, that sucks. Got a bazillion tabs open when I was setting up the show, and I'm looking for the right one. I was supposed to copy and paste it for all of you, and I did not see it. Aha, here we go. I got it, and now I can do all of this stuff. You're literally watching me bounce around on the screen. Let me plug it in. This is also going to be down in the description below. And I wanted to make sure you guys saw it. Sorry, one-man show with no stream deck. It is right here, down in the description below, right underneath everything. You are going to see a link for 6 things you didn't know what would happen when the police arrive. So you click on the link, plug in all your info, and you get this free little PDF right here. And it talks about all the things that will happen after the police arrive, etc. It's a free guide for you, provided by the USCCA. So feel free to click on it. Oh, I'm getting a check my text messages. Okay. Mrs. Gruby sending me texts. All right. Let's get into it. So go down into the description below, click this, fill in the info, and get your free guide. Okay. So last year, we had the passage of HB 7042. And one of the clauses, one of the little sections that was shoved in when that law was finally crafted and signed off on is right here. It is, see, it says in Connecticut, right, now we must prevent the sale and distribution in this state of a firearm industry product that is designed in a manner that is reasonably foreseeable to promote conversion of a legal firearms industry product into an illegal firearms industry product. Now, if you don't understand law-ese, right, the language of the law, this is what they would call nonsensical. It literally makes no sense. If you read this, you could plug in almost any single gun into that scenario. Reasonably foreseeable is the key phrase. So, taking a gun from legal to illegal, like we always point out, if I sold you just a rudimentary double-barreled shotgun, is it reasonably foreseeable that you could go home and cut that barrel with a hacksaw? Well, the answer is yes. So it's like, okay, so I guess we can't sell that. Is it reasonably foreseeable that if you buy a state-compliant carbine, AR-15, that you might go home and rip the fixed magazine out of it? Yes, that's reasonably foreseeable. You could possibly do something like that. It's illegal, but we don't know what you're doing at home. Well, I guess we can't sell that. All semi-automatic firearms are just broken full autos. With a little bit of know-how, you know how to finagle one to operate not as it's supposed to, but how to operate illegally. Thus, I guess we can't sell you any semi-automatics. That is like the worst case scenario, just reading into it. So they clarified, right? Now, we know, or we at least assumed, that when this was crafted for HB 7042 last year, they were mainly talking about Glocks because of the Glock switch. Well, the language itself is garbage. So, fast forward to this year's legislative session, and I'm sure all of you that are currently watching saw the last video I did just a couple of days ago. The governor has put forth this governor's bill number 5043. And I pulled it up for you. If you watch the video, as far as I know, this isn't even available via the state's website. It is in the Judiciary Committee. It's not like it's up for a vote or anything. You can see referred to Judiciary. Okay, so this can still change. Remember, 7042 was in the Judiciary Committee when we were ranting about it, and I was bitching about it, and it was about 6 pages. When it came out of Judiciary, it was only 4 pages. And then it went to the Senate, and it became something like 15, 16 pages, and then it went to the House. And it turned out to be, in the final version, like 26 pages. The reason it kept growing is they were taking chunks of bills that were dying or dead and shoving them in to 7042. And that's how we got things for self-defense, permitting, the accountability, the who's civilly liable for these guns, things like that. Well, fast forward to today, and we have the governor putting forth his act prohibiting the manufacture and sale of convertible pistols. What this does in our general statutes is it takes guns, mainly that have the cruciform trigger bar, so Glock and Glock-like handguns, so Glock, Shadow Systems, your PSA daggers, your Ruger RXM, all of them, and it categorizes them as a machine gun, which makes them illegal. Now, it goes after certain things, but then adds in the very specific term of cruciform trigger bar, which is what is inside of a Glock. Now, someone right before we went live had put it in the comment section on that video, well, what about the V-Series? What about Gen 6? They still use the cruciform trigger bar. Now, granted, they do have that little piece of plastic and metal in the back that is supposed to prevent the application of the illegal Glock switch. But in this particular bill he's put forth, when you get down to these lines, starting right around here, all this gets added. And it says, a convertible pistol means any semi-automatic pistol with a cruciform trigger bar. There you go. It's right in there. They can be readily converted by hand or with common household tools. Common household tools. Well, they list those. All right. What is a common household tool? It's going to be, but not limited to, screwdriver, hammer, chisel, file, a crescent wrench. Not limited, obviously. Now, I did a video on the V-Series. When the V-Series came out, much like Gen 5 Glocks, in the back where there used to be 2 holes, there's only one because one of them is blocked by plastic. That's Gen 5. It's just a piece of plastic. It's to prevent the switch from being installed. It's not hard to remove said plastic. Gen 6 and the V-Series, that hole is not only plastic, but a piece of metal. Now, when you get something like that, it is designed really to block the switch. However, if you are industrious, when there is a will, there is a way. Using common household tools, you're able to remove that block and then put a switch on it. How do we know this? An SOT in less than 16 days did exactly that. And when I made my video about the V-Series, I showed the finished product. I showed it working, things like that. But I did have the original video that showed exactly how the SOT did it. Now, the reason I bring that up specifically because it was an SOT that put the switch on the V-Series Glock, which is legal because they are an SOT. They're a 07 manufacturer. They can do those types of things. They can't sell it, obviously. Now, this bill in particular is going to stop manufacturing, so Ruger RXMs, because they're in Connecticut, and sale, which means the FFLs will not be able to sell them. There's nothing about a grandfather clause in this initial bill. Again, it can go through many, many iterations. It doesn't specifically say if you already own it, you can't own it. It just bans things going forward. So we have to wait to see what happens. We have to wait and see, do they want to voluntarily confiscate everything by mandate? Do we get to keep them? Does this just die in committee? We don't know any of this yet. We have to wait and see. But moving forward, if something like this were to pass, you got what you got, and FFLs in Connecticut won't be able to sell things like Glock, Shadow System, Ruger RXM, the FMK framework, Smith & Wesson, the original SD9 and SD40, because they use cruciform trigger bars. The 2.0s do not. Polymer 80s, which you can't have anyways. And PSA daggers, which are not impossible to get in Connecticut, but are incredibly hard. There are ways to get them. Usually people are buying them third party off other websites, but PSA themselves will not ship to Connecticut. So if you went onto the PSA's website and you tried to order one, they're not going to ship it here. There are ways to get it, but I'm just letting you know it is near damned impossible to get any. People have gotten them in the past, but there's many other guns too that also have cruciform trigger bars. But, you know, Connecticut is, well, doing everything they can to get rid of them. All this does take effect on July 1st if it were to pass. Now, who's held liable by this? I'm going to get to it. It's line 59. Right here, Section 3, effective July 1st. Any individual or any firearm partnership, corporation, LLC, association, or other similar entity within the state distributes, transports, or imports into the state, keeps for sale, or offers or expose for sale a convertible pistol defined by Section 53202 of the General Statute, as amended by this act, shall be guilty of a Class D felony. So your FFL won't be able to do anything with it, right? If you have a Glock and you're like, oh, I don't want it anymore, I'm just going to put it on consignment. Not going to happen. You turn it into the FFL, they're going to have to sell it out of state. And remember, when you put things on consignment in an FFL, that gun goes into their system. So it's pulled out of your name through a transfer number with SLFU and transferred to the A&D log of that FFL. If that firearm just sits there and it doesn't sell, normally if it's a regular gun that we're allowed to have, you just go down to the FFL and they reverse the process. They get another transfer number and they give you your gun back into your name. Obviously, if you do that with a Glock and this were to pass, FFL can't transfer your Glock back to you. So there you go. It's gone. It's like that today when it comes to ARs. People had ARs right before 7042, or I should say HB Satan 7 got passed. Sorry, HB Satan 7. A lot of people came in to dump their ARs, and the FFL that I was at, we just sold them on Gunbroker, pennies on the dollar from what people paid for them, just to get them out of state. Because once that law passed, we knew it was coming. We wouldn't be able to transfer them back to anybody. So we just got rid of them. I know who did it, and I was very saddened they got rid of like 5 or 6 of their ARs. It was a very fun move. I won't mention any names, Fishwine, who got rid of them. So it was very sad. But hey, it's their guns, their business. They do what they want. So, but I want to know what you guys think. Tell me, do you think this is going to pass? Do you think Connecticut is just getting worse when it comes to our gun rights in the Second Amendment? Let me know down in the chat. And about 15 to 10 minutes prior to jumping off, we'll jump in the chat. We'll take a look. Get in super chats. Those help with the channel immensely. All those little dollars you guys give up by buying merch and supporting the channel go a long way to help keep everything running for free and get us new things to take in, to review, all that. Currently, I am working on reviewing the, maybe like you, I got inundated with bearskin tactical jackets ads on Facebook, Instagram, everywhere. So, you know what? I pulled the trigger on them. I bought the fleece, I bought the rain jacket, so on and so forth, and wearing them out and about, and a review will be coming on those soon. Let you guys know if it's worth the money. So, all right, I wanted to get into this. I saw this on Facebook a couple of days ago. I thought it was funny, and I want to share it with you. The New York Times, on November 3rd, last year, had posted about shooting indoor ranges pose a hazard. The that's almost entirely overlooked, but concussive blast waves that can damage the brain. I'm like, come on, really? So, of course, it's a New York Times article, and you need to log in. So, I logged in for you. So, I want to take a look at it. So, target shooting could be the cause of brain injuries. Why am I bringing this up? Because I think this is stupid. I think it's really dumb. Because being here in the Northeast, like, say you wanted to go shoot your firearms today. The weather outside was abysmal. It is incredibly cold out with, I think, up to 50 knot winds, which is going to make it feel like negative 30. When I was driving home from Wolf's today, it was like 9 degrees. That's damn cold. Super cold. Too cold. I don't want to be in an outdoor range. I'd rather be in an indoor range where there's warmth and it's heated. Let's see what the article says real quick. So every day, thousands of people use indoor ranges that are designed to limit the hazards of target shooting, including lead exposure, stray bullets, but shooting indoors poses another hazard that's almost entirely overlooked. Concussive blast waves that can damage your brain. I don't think I can suffer too much more brain damage. So, I know it's a dad joke, guys. All right, evidence has emerged from the U.S. military that firing some military weapons can damage brain cells. And repeated exposure may cause permanent injuries, but there is next to no public information about the length of the blast waves delivered by civilian firearms or the potential hazards. Okay, so that's why some indoor ranges are limited. If you go to Wolf's, you are limited to pistol calibers. So you can shoot everything up, 9mm, things that you can't do like your AR-15. Is it possible? Oh, yeah, because the plates that are at the end of the range are rated for that. But it is too much for such a small area. I talked with the new owner, Jeff, and he was telling me, yeah, they don't do it because the amount of noise, smoke, and everything else just makes the indoor range unbearable. Therefore, they keep it to pistol calibers. So you can shoot your Ruger PC-9, you can shoot your little M&P 1522s, your Tippmann 22s, your M&P 5 SD, M&P 522 SDs. You can buy those. I know Lock and Load's got a bunch of them. Things like that, right? You're not showing up shooting a 308 or 30-06 or anything like that. You got to go to an outdoor range for something like that. Other ranges like BTR limits their indoor range to 22s only. Yes, it can hold more. The plates are rated for way more, but it's a 22 only range. In Wallingford, Delta Arsenal, you're able to shoot your ARs. It's got to be specific ammo, though. You can't use green tips, things like that. It blows straight through the steel plates. But if you're ever there when people are shooting their ARs, it is incredibly obnoxious. A lot of smoke, it's very loud, and yeah, the concussive forces abound and will give you a headache. So, be mindful. You want to shoot your ARs, we always try to recommend you just use an outdoor range, a private range, something like that. But, yeah, getting your brain rattled around's no bueno. So it goes on to say that the New York Times did its own testing and gathered its own data. It's the New York Times. I don't trust their data. Reporters measured the blasts of several popular civilian guns at indoor range using the same sensors the military uses. The data showed some large caliber civilian rifles delivered a blast wave that exceeds what the military says is safe for the brain. And firing smaller caliber guns repeatedly could quickly add up to potentially harmful exposure. The data also showed the indoor range designed to make shooting safe and inadvertently will make blast exposure worse, doubling and sometimes tripling the amplitude of the blast. And that's pretty much all it says. And they show a little video right here. Shows the explosion. If I can get it to play. right there. And you can see the concussive force, the blast wave, and it's going to hit the walls, and the waves pass through you. So the brain is a delicate network of 100 trillion connections, so on and so forth. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so indoor ranges exacerbate the blast waves. Yes, when you're in the indoor range, you can feel them. I'm not giving up shooting in an indoor range. Granted, your lead levels tend to go up more. If you have a lot of people in there shooting, yes, it can get very, very annoying. So try to time it to where you're in a slower time frame. If you really want to shoot at like wolves, some of the best times to go are going to be during the week after like 5 p.m. It's usually not that busy. You get a couple hours in before they close. It's not that bad. Especially during the summer when the weather's outside and it's beautiful, nobody's at the indoor range. So I wouldn't be too worried about something like this. I just thought it was funny. The New York Times was like, indoor ranges are bad for you, etc. Take it with a grain of salt, guys. Now, I did ask Google, indoor range or indoor gun ranges that cause brain damage. So AI overview. And of course, it links straight to the New York Times article. But risk mitigation strategies. Use of suppressors. Double up on your hearing protection. Choose an outdoor range. Avoid muzzle brakes indoors. So that's one of the problems. Like one of my SBRs has a Lantac Dragon on the end of it. That is a very loud, obnoxious muzzle device. It is designed to take a suppressor. I just like running it loud and obnoxious. Practice good hygiene. Yeah, I tell people all the time in class, wash your hands with soap and cold water, get D-lead baby wipes. That's more to help prevent the introduction of lead into your body. Watch your lead levels. I always tell people in class the national average for an American is 4 or less. It's like on a scale of 1 to 100. 6 is considered extremely dangerous, and my highest is 58. So I like shooting me some guns. Now, granted, when I was at 58, that opened up a can of worms. The VA lost their damn minds. Ended up in like a risk management program for lead exposure. They were really worried about it, and they were trying to get OSHA involved. And the first time it got really high, I was like, no, I don't want to get in. The second time they got really high, they're like, well, we really think we should contact OSHA. I was like, fuck them, contact OSHA. Do it. And they did what they had to do. Why was my lead levels so high? I don't know. Maybe the air exchange system in a certain indoor range was non-functional. Yeah, it blew air around. Not the right way, though. It needed a hardcore revamp, but nobody wanted to spend the money. So OSHA showed up. Oh, so sad. Limit your exposure. So if you experience headaches or other ill effects after shooting, limit your range time. Never going to happen. I always tell people you need to shoot a minimum of twice a month. Shooting is a skill set that dies in 28 days. That's it. You go to range, you do really good, get your reps in, you're feeling great. The minute you leave the range, downhill. You're losing it. Even if you do a lot of dry fire at home, a lot of dry runs, you still need that recoil management. You need to go to the range at least twice a month just to maintain. That's not even to improve, just to maintain. So be mindful of that. So I just think this is funny. But again, down in the chat, let me know what you guys think. When you go to the indoor range, you get your headaches, so on and so forth. Now let's jump a little to the south, because obviously Connecticut has been having a rough go with these anti-2A laws. Let's drop down to my old stomping grounds of Virginia. Now, there were plenty of articles out there, but I pulled this one up from Moms demand action. Because, yes, I like to go straight to the source. So, they're talking about Virginia House of Delegates passes a slate of gun safety bills. Mom demand action, students demand action, volunteers celebrate the monumental victory for public safety. I know what you're thinking. What are they talking about? The bill includes a ban on the sale of assault weapons, high-capacity magazines, industry accountability, ghost gun regulations, secure storage requirements, and measures to protect survivors of domestic violence. Now, somebody put in the comments section for when I talked about Virginia's laws, because that's where I was stationed, guys. I lived in Virginia for a very long time. Guru Jr. and Guru Jr. Ek were both born in Virginia. They're both little Virginiaites. They're Virginians. One was born in a civilian hospital. The other one was born in a military hospital. Anyways, somebody in the comment section goes, this is coming to Connecticut very soon. Bro, it's already here. It's been here. Bill to ban the sale of assault weapons. Yep, we got that. We can't have ARs, so we had the other. And they got rid of the others. So now we have Fight Light SCRs, which are ranch guns. And I found out today, Fight Light stopped making them. So I don't know what we're going to get. You're going to get compliant guns with fixed magazines. I used to tell people to go buy a Fight Light SCR because it's still chambered in 5.56. It's all tactical up front with M-lock on the barrel shroud, but it's all FUD in the back with a hunting stock. And you can still have a removable magazine. So you can get them in 5.56, 300 blackout, and it is a compromise to have something at least here in a state like ours. Well, they stopped making them. I don't know what's going on. We'll find out later. When I find out, you'll find out. The high capacity magazines. This is really bad. So originally they're capping them at 10, just like, the Northeast did. New York, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, etc. Originally, there was hint at a grandfather clause. And then the new version came out, and that's the one that passed, and there is no grandfather clause. You have to give them up. If you live in Virginia, and this is passed and signed into law, you will have to turn over your standard capacity magazines or neuter them down to 10. How many people do you think are going to comply with that one? I'm sure they'll buy compliant mags, but I'm sure these people will have a stash of standard mags. I don't know. I'm not condoning anything. I'm just saying, hey, I bet that's going to happen. Industry accountability. It's kind of like what we have. It is a way for the state to circumvent PLACA. Remember, PLACA protects frivolous lawsuits against gun manufacturers over things like criminals using their products to commit crime. Much like nobody in their right mind would sue Ford if some asshole left a bar, drunk, got behind the wheel of his Ford Taurus, and then hit you. You'd sue the individual because they are the drunk driver, but you wouldn't go after Ford because Ford provided the vehicle for them to drive. That's what PLACA does. It stops people from suing manufacturers for making guns. This came about because of what happened in Remington. In case you guys don't know, Remington's out of business. Who put them out of business? We did. Us here in Connecticut. The Sandy Hook families and that lawyer, Josh, whatever. The guy that looks like a goblin from Harry Potter. They sued Remington into oblivion. Thus, they don't exist anymore. And the whole guise of it was the AR-15 made by Remington was available in Call of Duty and had some of the best stats you could get for that game. Thus, that's what made Lanza want it so bad, etc., etc., and we all know what happened. It's tragedy. And honestly, I think it's a warped way of using the law and the courts to punish people that had nothing to do with it. But I digress. Let's see what the article says. In Richmond, Virginia, today, the Virginia chapters of Mom Demand Action and Students Demand Action, both part of Everytown for Gun Safety Grassroots Network. I hate all these groups and I follow them. Issued the following statement celebrating the House of Delegates for passing 5 major gun violence prevention bills. This marks a pivotal movement for the Commonwealth, signaling a bold multi-front commitment to ending gun violence, from tackling weapons of war and untraceable ghost guns, and holding the gun industry accountable and protecting survivors of domestic violence. And these bills now move to the Senate. Thus, they can still be amended, they can get better, they probably will get worse because, well, Virginia went from purple to hard blue, and people get exactly what they vote for. Just like when New York elected Mamdani. I was happy. I'm like, I'm glad you guys elected him. You're going to get exactly what you want. The best for you. Then we have that snowstorm, and people are wanking about it because the streets are still covered in snow, cars are buried, etc. I'm like, yeah, you got what you voted for. It is what it is. They're talking about raising taxes, and they were talking about, I was watching it right before we did the live. They were talking to some individuals who's like, oh, we'll just make it illegal for these companies to leave, because the reporter's like, well, if they raise the taxes, all these multimillionaires are just going to pack up their stuff and leave. He's like, no, we'll just make it illegal. We'll seize their stuff. I'm like, well, that's a dark road they're going down. But hey, more power to you guys. You do you, boo. Not liking that. Not liking that at all. But hey, that's New York's problem, not our problem. So, yeah, we got to wait to see what happens with Virginia. I don't think it's going to be good. I think all of this is going to get ramrodded through. And I think Virginia and the Virginians are shafted. I feel really, really bad for my buddies, my friends, and my military family that still live in Virginia. Because the vast majority of them really like their guns, and they're all screwed right now. They're all screwed. Sucks to be them. All right, I'm going to jump back to this. I want to pull something up real quick, and I figured you guys could look at me and not watch me search something on the screen. So get in that comment section. Let me know what you think. It's an absolute lost cause when it comes to Virginia. I want to know. All right, I got it. Let me pull it back up and jump back down to the screen capture. And restart the capture. Bam. Okay, I don't know how many of you guys actually out there follow the Armed Scholar. He is very clickbaity, and it drives me nuts. But listen, I've talked to him before in person. You know, we kind of go to the same things and all that. It's very clickbaity. Can't stand it. I take everything he pretty much publishes with a grain of salt. It is what it is. But the reason I'm bringing it up is I think it was no rifle bans. This video right here, breaking Supreme Court 6-3 decision, DOJ to push. No, that's not what it is. But if you watch this video, what he's talking about, and I'm going to pause it, to push permanently end all assault weapon bans. What he's talking about are the cases that are going before the Supreme Court shortly. He goes and rambles on about basically Cook County. And he goes, and there's a few more. He won't even name our cases here in Connecticut. He just talks about the one in Illinois and then the others. Well, the others are ours. So what's going on with ours? Well, if we go to the Supreme Court of the United States and we look at Nagar v. Lamont, which now encompasses and includes Grant v. Higgins, they've smashed them together. You go all the way to the bottom on January 28th. It's been distributed for a conference on February 20th. So as it stands right now, both of our cases, which are in one case now, the one from Cook County, are all going up for conference. Is it a guarantee they're going to get heard? I don't know. They tend to like push these things off. They reconference them for a later date. But I'm hoping with everything that's going on, with what Kavanaugh said last time, that they were just kind of waiting for the right case, that they're just going to take all of the cases that are currently in front of them dealing specifically with AR-15s and everything like it, and the standard capacity magazines, and just cram them all together into one big, beautiful case and finally hear it. And give a ruling that says you can't ban these. That would be fantastic. Connecticut does not want it. And we've already covered their brief, and we covered that the Second Amendment Foundation basically retorted their brief and just tore it to shreds. Because Connecticut's stance on this and why they should be able to have an AR-15 and like ban, and the magazine ban, is it's laughable. It's really laughable. They distort Bruin. They distort the Heller cases and try to reimagine the reinterpretations of this, that, and the other thing to justify their unconstitutional laws. Now, when SAF wrote their brief to retort them, they did a really good job of just slaughtering them. Thus, we have to wait and see what happens. I really do hope that the Supreme Court picks this up, because if they do, I am quite confident Gun Owners of America, Second Amendment Foundation, the CCDL, and all the other groups that are involved in these cases, and the one from Cook County out of Illinois, will absolutely crush the states, their arguments, and their willful violations of the Second Amendment. And the Supreme Court, whether it's on party lines or it's, I don't care, as long as we have the majority, we'll say, no, you can't. We've said this once before. You can't ban commonly owned firearms. You can only ban things if they're dangerous and unusual. That's the key. Now, Connecticut has argued they're dangerous or unusual. We can do it because of that. No, you can't. That's not what they said. He goes, well, they're dangerously unusual. Nope, you still can't do that. It's got to be dangerous and unusual. Not whatever the state of Connecticut wants, or the state of Illinois, or whoever. So we shall see what happens, but it's a good sign, guys. It is a good sign. Have hope. Don't be black-pilled. I'm black-pilled enough for all of us. I see this stuff and I just assume nothing's going to happen. We're just going to get shafted. But I'm hoping if they pick it up now, because some of my favorite Supreme Court justices are older than dirt. I hope they pick it up now because they're still around to hear these cases. If they push it off till another session or some later date, I'm worried we'll lose people like Clarence Thomas, Justice Alito, and they're the two that have our backs when it comes to the Second Amendment. They're the ones that have consistently stood up for our rights, while Amy Coney Barrett and all these other justices are kind of wishy-washy at times, and you've got the nutballs on the far left that are just like, nope, you can ban guns. It's like, oh. So we have to see. But it is quarter till, so I want to jump to your chats and see what is going on with you guys. Oh my God, it's so many. I love it. I love it. And before I forget, I was reminded via the text. Next Saturday, it is Valentine's Day. There will be no live. You're not going to sit at home and watch me yammer on about things on the internet. You are going to go take your special someone, your boo, out to a very lovely dinner. Do something special. Go to the gun range and, use a beeping bully and compete against each other. Or if you're single and you live alone, treat yourself to a beautiful steak dinner. Nothing wrong with that. All right, let's get into it. Eric Borden, 281, says, good evening, Guru Clan. I like the Guru Clan, but the word clan is kind of... So, guys, we were trying to come up, in case you are new here, we're trying to come up with a community name, and we weren't sure what. So, Guru Clan. Let me know what you guys think. Speaking of which, I will be putting a poll up soon. If you guys have been in my classes, you know I have this tiny little paragraph on my slide, my introduction slide. And every time Josh goes on vacation, I add a little line underneath it. So the first time he went on vacation, I added a quote. It just says, I like guns. That was the end of it. We left it. And then he went on vacation a time later. And underneath that, I added the okayest instructor. Today, he goes, well, I'm going on vacation soon. And I'm sure Todd will add something to his slide. And you bet your ass I am. But I want to know what you guys think. I'm going to put a few things up in a poll. And I'll let you guys vote on them. What shall I add to my instructor introduction slide? It's going to be a smart-ass comment, so... Viking Queen says, good evening, Mr. Guru. Good evening, Viking Queen. I hope Clay the Claymore is keeping you safe at night. Louis Torres says, good evening all. Louis Torres, I am glad you are here, sir. Say loud and clears. We got John's, good evening. Yes, the volume is working. That's good. Diesel, hello. Long-time listener, first-time commenter. Diesel's a good egg. Good egg. It took him forever to drive into Lock and Load. If you guys know Diesel, work with him on the weekends. He is a good chap. If you have USCCA questions, he is the man to talk to. If you have USCCA questions and I can't answer them, let me know and I'll give you his contact info. See, John's 4862. My roads were not plowed until about 9 a.m. Yeah, I think the state of Connecticut really dropped the ball on that one. I mean, they brined yesterday in my town. They knew this was coming, and when I was already at Lock and Load, when somebody posted that they saw that, or they heard that the city and the state was just getting out to start plowing, I was like, oh, that's abysmal. Let's see. Louis Torres says he's going back to a revolver in a 1911 if this passes and bans firearms limited on choices. Be like California. Listen, Louis, I don't know if you guys saw this, but on my Facebook feed, Gun Guru Actual, if you don't follow me, you should. A guy got picked up. God, I think it was Manchester. And he had a butterfly knife, a switchblade, a crack pipe, meth pipe. I don't know what it is. I don't know. But this dude had like a late 1800s ball and cap revolver with no caps. So it was probably not loaded. But that was the gun he was carrying. And they arrested him and they gave him weapon charges, even though under the letter of the law, black powder pistols like that are not firearms. So I'm sure, I just imagine him out there waving it around, screaming, tally ho, rapscallions. Someone asked if they arrested Colonel Custer. I was like, that's funny. Or General Custer or whatever. So Zero Link says he heard about the brain damage. Listen, loud cars can cause brain damage. With that thought process, I would not put too much into it. It's just, to me, I'm looking at it as an anti-gun propaganda, because damn well Moms Demand Action, all these other groups are going to be like, oh my God, we got to have this for the safety of people. We got to ban this, ban that. Like LOL Connecticut. Let's see, Sean Turner. We're going to make sure that we all speak to our reps and senators about this bill. Yeah, now the only thing that concerns me, it is coming straight from the governor's desk. And the last bill that was like that was HB Satan 7. So when we start to get closer. We start to see what happens when they open up for public comments. I will let you guys know so you can get your public comments in. And I will even help, if I can, provide a template for you to email to your senators and your reps and all that, with phone numbers, the whole 9 yards. This can't fly. And I know plenty of people, Mrs. Guru is going to be like, then that's why we need to leave. Michael Vincent, let's see. When you get some legal help in Connecticut, this is bullshit. We're just doing anything that, or they are just doing anything they want and getting away with it. Yep, pretty much. We do have the GOA and Second Amendment Foundation and all these other groups. They do help, but sometimes they have bigger fish to fry. So we'll see. We'll wait to see what happens. California literally just did this last year. This very same thing, the cruciform trigger bar, and I've heard crickets from all the groups. So I don't know what's going on with that. Eric Bourne says the Tricky Dick and Chrissy Murphy love this. Oh, I'm sure they do. I'm sure they're going to want to. If it were to pass here, I'm sure you're going to have Blumenthal and all them like, let's take it nationwide. They'll introduce it like they did with 7042. Got a super chat here from Canada Pirate. Thank you for the super chat, sir. That is awesome. I don't see any comment, but I appreciate the super chat. Lou Torres. Yep, it will pass in Connecticut, New California. Yeah, that's all we say, man. We're just California East. Eric Bourne says that he believes that a new gun ban proposal will pass with more strings attached. Oh, I guarantee it will. They will add some dystopian things in there. John's 4862. What military weapons are they using? That's a good question because, you know, in the military, we use some really big stuff. You know, I mean, your standard carbines, obviously 5.56, but, you know, we use 300 blackout. They're usually subsonic, though. I know they're testing 8.6 blackout. 308 is another one. A lot of our guns are chambered in 308. We got rifles that are chambered in 300 Win Mag. The Remington 700, which is your, like, go-to sniper rifle. So, it is, you know, it's across the board, guys. The military is using all kinds of weird stuff. Most stuff, civilians are not shooting in indoor range. You're really limited. It's a civilian indoor range. People are not shooting wild and crazy things in there. Diesel has joined. He is LARPing now. Congratulations on being a member, Diesel. LARPing. Love it. Ooh, Diesel sent some gift memberships to his friends. Nice. Louis Torres writes, anti-gun bills give my brain damage. Unconstitutional crap. LOL. Yes. Louis Torres, I'm thinking of taking multiple permit class. You should take the multi-state permit class. We offer at Lock and Load. On my website, you'll find a link directly to it. You can do Utah. I'm the instructor for that. Massachusetts, Florida, etc. A lot of people just take all of them. Yes, Florida and Utah sort of overlap, but there are some states Utah covers, Florida doesn't. Some states Florida cover, Utah won't. It just covers all your bases. Utah is the coveted permit because it's most widely accepted. It is one of the easiest to get. It is literally just filling out one piece of paper. I guide you through it line by line. It is super easy to get, and on average, it takes less than 60 days, which is nice. John 4862 says, no headaches from the indoor ranges. Been going to them since I was a kid, and I don't think I've lost any of my brain cells to lead vapor. Every now and then I get a headache, but that is usually when somebody next to me is shooting something obnoxious. Louis Torres says he shoots 4 times a month, 1,000 rounds a month. That is awesome. You got to keep up your skills. Literally, I could do 1,000 rounds in a day. That's expensive. But I liked when I was active duty because ammo was free. We just got ammo. And the best time was September, because the military is obviously U.S. government. September is the end of the fiscal year. October 1st is the beginning of the new fiscal year. So in September, it's the use it or lose it mentality. Thus, all the ammunition that we've held on to must be expended. The month of September usually were some very, very long range days where we were just burning guns down. We'd go in, we'd load and load and load and load, and you're shooting full auto, you're running drills, you're having fun, we're qualing people. I remember one of the last times I did it, we ended up having to put 5 or 6 of our M4s in the back of a truck because they were all too hot to handle. Even with a glove on, we couldn't hold them anymore. The barrel shrouds would burn. They were just burning our skin. It was awesome. We went through so much ammo, and I'm glad I didn't have to clean any of it when we were done. Let me grab a few more here. John 4862 says, I've got to cover some range time, work, family, commitment. Take up my time these days. I get it. One, make the range a family affair. Worst case scenario, again, the range is really good for recoil management, but 99% of everything else can just be done at home. Get yourself a Mantis system. Yes, they are expensive, but they are well worth it. I've got the X3 and I've got a Mantis Blackbeard. They are great for running drills. You know, the only drawback with a Blackbeard is if you're using something like a Glock, once you pull the trigger, it's dead, and you have to cycle the slide yourself. For a while, they were supposedly working on a trigger reset magazine for the Mantis system. I haven't heard anything about it, but depending on the make and model of the gun that you're practicing with, on Amazon, they do have magazines that go in your gun that will reset the trigger for you for dry firing. Not every gun, it's just like Glock 19, 17s, I think the SIG 320, things like that. So if you're training with those, or you own those, you want to train with those, you can order them on Amazon. If you guys need a link, just let me know. I'll find it and I'll put the link up. Let's see. Johns writes, again, this is New York City, has piles of garbage that haven't been picked up for 2 weeks. Luckily, it's winter. Yes, it's very stinky. It's very high. But you know what? Right in front of the governor's mansion, it's perfectly clean. And that's how socialism works. Those in power have clean streets, and everything smells good and is pretty, and the rest of you plebes suffer. Charlie Jacob writes, Todd, I have a question for you. What about the legalese involving the Connecticut Glock ban? I covered that. I just covered it. Oh, bugger. I really hate when YouTube jumps like that. All right, here we go. Charlie Jacobs again says, he said it would not affect armed security with nuclear facilities. I'm an armed guard, and I don't work at a nuclear site. Am I exempt? The way it is worded is nuclear facility license, United States Nuclear Regulatory Commission, for purposes of providing security services at such a facility, or any contractor or subcontractor of such a facility for the purpose of providing security services at such a facility, or licensed gun dealer defined by the subsection, blah, blah, blah. So it only sounds like security personnel that work at those specific locations will be allowed to. Working like at Brinks, no. You will be relegated to something else. Let's see, Louis Torres says, I'm Florida going to pick up a gun, and I can't get it here in Connecticut because it came with a threaded barrel. I don't know what kind of gun that is, but there are ways to get it in Connecticut. We literally could just, if it's a handgun, if it's a rifle, you can have a threaded barrel. If it's a handgun, lock and load can make it compliant with a QD mount. So if you guys want something like that, you can always talk to Josh or Nick over at Lock and Load, and they will they can set you straight on that one. But there's ways to do it to make them compliant. Just swap your barrel out. You can always do that. You can't have that barrel. You having the barrel and the gun is constructive possession. Louis Torres says he gets practice on hog control in Florida. Yeah, hog control is always nice. Go out there and pop some of them bad boys. All right, guys, it is 2000, 8 o'clock. So instead of watching me keep talking, we've covered pretty much everything I wanted to. I appreciate the super chats and LARPing Diesel. I appreciate that, sir. Go spend some time with your family. It's Saturday night. Go do something fun. Remember, next Saturday night is Valentine's Day. We will not be doing a live. I'm going to take Mrs. Guru out. We're going to go enjoy ourselves. Go have some fun. All right, go enjoy the rest of your time, the rest of your weekend, etc. I have to get up and teach another class tomorrow. So that's always fun. I love doing it. All right, you guys be safe out there, and I will see all of you guys in the next video.